My name is Big Time. We have a new series we're going to be calling How Blacks Are Treated by the System. So, in this case, the justice system. So, we're going to get right to it. We're going to go to DC. But first, we're going to keep you up to date. You had a 13-year-old and a 12-year-old who committed a carjacking in DC last week. The 13-year-old had already committed 9 armed robberies and he was let go every time because black. He was shot by a federal security guard, and now all of a sudden everybody's upset because he got what was coming to him. So, just a recap, and then we're going to show you how they're trying to protect the 12-year-old and make it go away.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm Sierra Fox. A 13-year-old boy shot and killed after trying to carjack an off-duty federal security officer in D.C. Fox 5's Aisha Khan is live in Northwest after gathering all the details. And Aisha, to my understanding, this all unfolded near a lot of public safety buildings, right?
It doesn't mean anything. You can have all the lights and you can have all the cameras everywhere. But until there's actual consequences for these kids, or until more of them just get shot by the victims or taken out, as long as they're being let go by the weak ass black and white progressive liberal Democrats, it doesn't matter. And I hate the fact that this is a problem. See, if the 13-year-old had killed the federal security guard, nobody would care. But because the 13-year-old is dead, my baby, now suddenly it's a problem. We got to say everything's about save the blacks. I should just call this channel Save the Blacks. That's all this is.
Yeah, it did, Sierra. This is the district's pen quarter, and depending on who you ask, this area is considered relatively safe, given the fact that you have MPD police headquarters here, you have DC courts, and you have the U.S. Attorney's Office, all located down here at the pen quarter area. Now, the attempted carjacking that led to that deadly shooting happened right here in the 600 block of D and 6th Streets on Saturday night, just after 10 p.m. DC police say 13-year-old Bernard Tony Jr. of the Southeast and another teen walked up to a car which had an off-duty federal security officer sitting inside waiting for his shift to start. The police say that's when the duo demanded that he get out of the car. Police say one of the teens was holding his hand sort of in front of his front waistband pocket as if he had a handgun. Now, as the federal security officer, who has been identified as William Reynolds, got out of his car, he shot Tony Jr. And Tony Jr. Died at the hospital. Police.
I don't care. That's his own fault. The federal security guard had every right to defend himself. You don't want to get shot, don't carjack people.
Are looking for the other teen who was involved in that attempted carjacking. Police also indicated that one of the two teens who had his hand in his front waistband pocket is the one who ran off. Now, meanwhile, police say that William Reynolds legally owns the gun and he is
So your man got shot and you ran away and left him to die. Wow, what a friend.
currently cooperating with police. Also to note, as of Friday, DC police say that there have been 821 carjackings.
So it was reasonable to assume that these kids were loaded or armed. You're living in a war zone because of blacks not being punished by the system, particularly black teens. So there's been an update, and they caught the 12-year-old, the other kid, but now they're trying to make it go away.
Trying to carjack an off-duty federal officer in D.C. ordered into psychiatric treatment. That's the incident that resulted in another would-be carjacker who was
psychiatric treatment. So you commit a carjacking with your friend who's committed 9 armed robberies, and now we have to try to make it away. We have to make it go away. Look at the kid glove. Look how they treat domestic terrorists. There's this black councilman's going to come on and say, "Oh, save the blacks."
Being shot and killed by the man he was trying to rob. Lily Zhang's on the
Good. One less carjacker.
story. She's live from D.C. Superior Court with the latest in this case. Lily?
Well, Jim, that hospital placement instead of a juvenile detention center, that was recommended by a doctor who performed a psych evaluation on this 12-year-old suspect. Now, he didn't disclose what was part of this evaluation, what he found. We do know that both the government as well as the defense agreed on this. That 12-year-old's mother was the one who turned him in to police last week.
And points to her for turning him in. She probably can't control this kid. You know, she's probably scared of him. I don't even ask where the father is anymore. I mean, what the fuck is the point? Save the blacks.
This was after images of him were shared by authorities as they looked for him after the D Street shooting. Now, prior to the hospital placement order, there was discussion on whether the preteen suspect should stay at DC's Youth Services Center. The defense raised concerns about bullying by older teens. Violence is a concern that was previously shared to DC Council member Trayon White, who toured the facility.
You should be bullied. You're a fucking domestic terrorist. You're running around stealing cars from hardworking people. Tax dollars are all going to Ukraine and Israel. And you're running around trying to steal their car. You should be fucking bullied. Also, since it's mostly, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, is it mostly blacks in the juvenile detention center? So you're mostly being bullied by your own people. But we're not going to point that out, right? So your own people don't even fucking like you. Why should anybody else?
Today, he says that staffing is also an issue that was disclosed to him, along with access to programs.
This is the
Programs. Access to programs. When black kids commit armed robberies and carjackings and terrorize everyday citizens, they get to take your money and they get to go to group therapy or pick up the trash or midnight basketball, all because of motherfuckers like this. So now DC, the capital of the United States, is becoming Africa because we have to feel sorry for criminals. Save the blacks. My children have to lose food because you won't punish your kids.
Department of Youth Rehabilitation Services. They're supposed to be rehabbing. The kids don't feel like they. What did he say? He said, "We not getting rehabbed in here. Ain't no rehab going on."
That's because they're too busy bullying each other, you stupid motherfucker. And I don't give a fuck what the criminal thinks. You're 12 and you're carjacking. You know what they would do to you in the Congo? Do you have any fucking idea? In the Congo, if you hurt somebody or you stole something, there's a very strong probability that they will cut your fucking hand off. Or in the Congo, the police would take the flat edge of a machete, the dull end, and beat the crap out of the kid. No court, no rehab, no resources, no rec centers. It's only in a fucking white country that we feel sorry for you. Well, stupid white people do. And when they let you be in charge, you turn the capital of the country into fucking Africa. Isn't that great? All right, and let's see what's happening in Baltimore. So 2 more black astronauts ran up on a woman, committed a strong arm robbery, and 2 hours later they were let go because save the blacks.
On juvenile crime, Fox 45 News has obtained some video of another brazen attack involving young people.
Take a look at this clip. This is from Butcher's Hill in the city, appearing to show 2 juveniles, the youngest apparently 12 years old, running up to a
2
woman.
black juveniles. Even the fucking news protects them. Black privilege, everybody.
And shoving it to the ground before robbing her and running off with her car keys.
The victim telling Fox 45 News she feared for her life in those scary, intense moments.
It's just scary. It's just scary because, you know, the whole time it's happening, no one's really there to help you.
Well, the assault happened on a well-lit street just steps from Patterson Park.
Fox 45's Keith Daniels has the victim's chilling testimony and an update on the suspects in the story you're seeing first on Fox. And Keith, citizens are fed up with this.
Fed up, absolutely, Nakai and Mary. Police say it happened after the woman had parked her car on the street and was walking home. She told us she only had to walk about 2 blocks.
We should have picked our own cotton. So anyway, 2 hours later, they were let go. No fucking.
They're calling for some account
Because they're black. That's it. That's the only reason. They're black. So we got to let them go. It's not their fault, guys. It's not their fault, guys. Slavery. Slavery, guys. Did you know slavery and redlining? It's actually that white woman's fault that they ran up on her and beat her down. She just shouldn't even live there. You should just give your money and your children to the black community because everything's your fault. Don't you know that, you stupid white woman?
accountability here. We found out an internal investigation into this incident is underway because the teenagers who attacked this woman, they were arrested and taken into custody, but they were released just hours later.
From the third floor of my house, I heard screams of cries for help.
Arch McCowan ran out of his Butcher's Hill home to find his neighbor.
Right by here, and then I came out the door and saw her laying here.
She had been violently attacked and robbed. It was caught on his cameras near the corner of East Lombard and South Patterson Park Avenue.
Right there, and boom.
So I'm just going to give my 2 cents for this guy. He went outside. He didn't have any weapons, and essentially he went outside after they had already stolen everything from her and ran away. And bottom line is, you're an old fucking man. I don't know if these guys have weapons on them, but I'm pretty sure in DC you're not allowed to shoot blacks, especially black teens, because, you know, that's like that. Now you're the mustache man, little mustache man. And my advice to you is you can't help someone like that. If you don't have a weapon, if you don't have the authority, or if you don't have the laws to protect you to use it, unless it's your family, I'm not helping you. And I'll just be fair, I don't expect you to help me. So you could say what he did was brave, but there's also a probability that he could have been the next victim.
Puncher, kicker.
The victim is now speaking with 11 News.
Am I going to get shot? Because that you don't know. That can happen, you know? You don't know. That's what I was thinking.
She says they then stole her keys and ran off. McCowan was able to help police track them down.
Yeah, so it came out after it happened. So again, I mean, he looks like an old guy, and it looks like he would just get his fucking hip broken if they knocked him down. Or that, you know, you put your life at risk to help somebody. Just understand that. This is not the fucking 70s. These kids will kill you. And if you live somewhere where you're not allowed to fight back, you will go to prison. Especially if it's white on black. So you take a risk. Like I said, if it wasn't my family, if it's not my wife or my children, I'm not pulling. I'm not bringing the hammer. I'm not doing it. Sorry. I don't expect you to help me either. So.
The attackers, a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old,
both black,
taken into custody.
They were arrested, and then within a few hours, they were released back onto the street. That is completely unacceptable, and it speaks to a breakdown in our public safety system.
Saturday, Councilmember Zeke Cohen and the city state delegation sent this letter calling on the Secretary of
Don't worry, guys. The small hats wrote a letter. That'll stop the crime.
Services and the Baltimore Police Commissioner, stating, quote, "We are deeply concerned by a recent series of juvenile suspects in violent crimes released shortly after arrest without explanation. They're asking the agencies to find a fix to prevent these crimes and to better protect the people of Baltimore."
Can she carry a gun? Can she shoot them? That's one way you can protect the people of Baltimore. I don't know if you noticed, but there weren't any fucking cops here to save her. Can she carry a gun? Can she carry a 380 or a 32? Or potentially, I don't know if she can handle a 9mm. Could she shoot one of these little future astronauts and doctors? Or do you expect there to be, are you going to say all the dumb bullshit? Be aware of your surroundings, cameras, less. She needs hollow points. There's no fear, and there's no consequences. That's why they do this shit. Why do we have to live like this? And why do we have to give them our fucking money? It's a racket. Blacks commit all the crime and then they get all the fucking money. Here's a follow-up. I mean, Christ, in my state of Pennsylvania, 12% of the population commits 60 to 65% of all the violent crime. Philadelphia has 170 rec centers, all built by the taxpayers. And yet there were still over 1,300 carjackings last year.
Only took about 2 hours before a 12 and 14-year-old were released from Baltimore police custody after getting arrested for attacking a woman walking home and stealing her car keys.
This was a particularly rough and in some ways really brutal crime that took place. The woman was thrown on the ground, she was punched, she was kicked.
Councilman Zeke Cohen is one of 5 legislators who wrote a letter over the weekend to Baltimore Police and the Department of Juvenile Services to ask why the pair was released. They say this was not an isolated incident, but rather part of a larger pattern. Too often, kids are committing crimes and getting away with it.
It's not about pointing fingers. It's not
Black kids. See, even now, they're trying to fucking sanitize it. Oh, everybody. No, everybody's not doing it. I don't see Asians doing it. I don't see small hats doing it. I don't see Indians doing it. Primarily in Baltimore, for the most part, like 90%, it's black teens. Even the news is trying to protect them. Even he's trying to protect them. Juvenile, teen, kids, we all got to come together. Yeah, or we could just kick you the fuck out of Baltimore, then we wouldn't have any problems.
BPD or DJS, it's about what is happening that is enabling this crime wave to continue without clear consequences for the young folks.
Just last week, Mayor Scott expressed similar frustration after a 16-year-old was shot and killed. That same teen was arrested back in August for trying to carjack an off-duty police officer, but was later released on home monitoring.
There you go. There you go. Carjacked a cop. Tried to carjack a fucking cop. Let me hear that one more time.
Carjack an off-duty police officer, but was later released on home monitoring.
There you go. If that's not fucking black privilege. Black privilege is the ability to break every law in America and still be treated like the fucking victim. Carjacked a police officer and got sent home with an ankle monitor. Boy, that fucking mammy judge or that white judge was really eating up that post-traumatic slave disorder, right?
I want everyone to know that this is not some kind of intergovernmental fighting right now. Everyone is working hard together each and every day to address these
And you ain't doing shit, Ninja. You're money laundering. You're being investigated. Safe Streets is being investigated by the FBI.
Some on social media told the legislators their letter comes too little too late, saying this is a consequence of juvenile justice reforms passed at the state level that are designed to protect juvenile offenders.
To me, when
Save the blacks. That's all it is.
look at
This state won't charge people under the age of 25 with murder because they say that your brain, your prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed. But the same state also passed legislation for gender affirming care. That means if you're 13 and you commit murder, you won't go to prison. You won't be charged with first-degree murder because your brain isn't fully developed. But if you're 13, you can cut off your genitals because you're able to make an adult decision. You got that, right?
in particular, I don't think the laws at the state level necessarily have anything to do with it. Even within the existing laws, it should not be a case where young people are committing acts of pretty serious violence and then just leaving out a couple hours later.
In response to the letter, Baltimore police told WMAR2 News that BPD was not responsible for the release of the 2 juveniles.
And I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. It's just something that happened.
And that's a fucking problem. Somebody did it. Somebody made the decision. A department, a person, whatever. But we all got to act like we're all in this together, right? I don't blame the cops. I know they just arrest them, they don't charge them. But also, I blame the cops in the fact that you won't point out who's doing it. And you also won't speak out and say, well, the citizens should be allowed to be armed. When was the last time you heard a cop say that, besides that sheriff in Polk County, Florida? During the hurricane, he said if an illegal immigrant or someone breaks in your house during a hurricane, you get your gun and you shoot him in the face. Based cop. So when this guy doesn't speak out and say the citizens should be allowed to defend themselves, I hold you accountable.
Released. We talked about it, and we'll work through it. We'll deal with what happened, and we'll work together to make sure it doesn't happen again.
The Department of Juvenile Services tells us.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to play that. I just want to play that. I just want to see if this is the one.
Information and social media, some of the criminals were going to take their criminal conduct into the neighborhoods. I would tell them, if you value your life, you probably shouldn't do that in Polk County, because the people of Polk County like guns. They have guns. I encourage them to own guns, and they're going to be in their homes tonight with their guns loaded. And if you try to break into their homes to steal, to set fires, I'm highly recommending they blow you back out of the house with their guns.
There. That's a cop I like. When all these other fucking police officers come forward, oh, comply, do what the criminal tells you, get more cameras, get more lights, be aware of your surroundings. That's all bullshit. This cop knows they can't be there. 99% of all crimes, they show up after the fact. Any other cop who doesn't tell you this is a fucking communist. So anyway, I'm big time.